Hey, hello everyone. It is Monday here, the 3rd of November. So let's recap the market. I've done a video, I think, on Saturday where we looked at longer term Elliott wave counts in all the indices and in Bitcoin. So go ahead and check that out for where we are on the Elliott wave structure. I'm going to just review a little bit the indices and take a look. It seems that the crypto is selling off a little bit in here, breaking some key zones. So we'll take a look in terms of a price section. The indices are doing fine. There's, they're kind of stalling in here, not doing a whole lot. I guess they're trying to see what's going on with these earnings. Earnings have been kind of mixed. But we haven't really broken any key levels in any of the indices yet. I know the RSP, which is the equal weighted index, the equal weighted in the NASDAQ, is also a little bit off. So we don't have a lot of participation in here. The breadth is a bit weak. I've talked about it last week, but the trend still remains. Fairly strong in here and up, and without breaking some of these key zones support. Example, you have a support here at about 67.70, I guess, in the SP500. You got a 10-week, you got a 10-day, the 20-day moving average, you got a 50-day. There's not a lot in here that really could be said that the market is in a bad position. Now, that can change, but for right now, things are still looking fairly solid. I mean, it had a chance to break. It didn't. Maybe this is just another, way to maybe trap some more longs, but the sentiment is still very pretty bearish. I mean, I know the AAII last week we had a bit more bulls than bears, but the fear is still pronounced. There's a bunch of fear in crypto, and these markets, at least the indices in here, are not showing yet signs of deterioration. So we'll continue to watch that, but I still remain fairly constructive. I do have a few longs. I've opened some fresh longs. I got a long this morning on Palantir ahead of the earnings, just via some option plays. The stock kind of bounced in the early right after the release, and now it's kind of retreating. I'm a bit long Uber. There's a few other things that I like. IBKR. There's some stocks that are looking fine. So we'll see. I still have a pretty decent, about 80 to 85% long exposure in the market. So I'll vote with my money here, but in case we start to see things kind of breaking apart, I'll be quick to pull back. When we look at the Dow Jones, this is coming back and kind of testing its 20-day moving average, but continues to look fine. IWM came down into the 50. So the 50 now, it's very, very close to the prices in here, but it had a pretty decent rejection. So, I will respect that. I liked that until we get a close below. SOX also looks fairly strong, right? NVIDIA hasn't deteriorated a lot. The chip index is doing good. If you look at the new Dow theory, which is, semiconductor index versus the S&P, and here is, the ratio between the S&P, between the semiconductors and the S&P, this is, right at the new highs. There is really not a lot of divergence in here. I would be worried if this will start kind of heading the other direction and the S&P will continue to go. But so far, they're kind of moving in lockstep. So that's, in my view, that's a pretty good sign still. Now, coming to crypto, it's we're starting to spend a bit more time below this 200-day moving average, and it's a bit of a concern. We did talk, the lack of sustainability above the 20-day and above the 50-day. In here we had a couple of tests, but then we fell back. So for me, I even said on Discord today, until we break above this 117.5, I'm not really interested in touching Bitcoin, because it's not that it's doing a whole lot of wrong things in here, but it's not doing anything right either by not at least trending somewhat correlated with the equity market and moving higher. So it's a bit broken from that, and it's heading into the other direction. Corrective, but this can quickly unravel and start to sell off. Now, I know the fear index in the crypto is a bit high. I don't know what this market is trying to tell us, but again, the weekly time frame, I talked about this on Saturday, we still look pretty fine, and I continue to like it. But it doesn't mean that I have to, you know, to be active in it. So from a longer term perspective, my holdings, I'm not going to touch, any of those. If anything, I'll look for opportunities and levels to try to add to those. Here I don't think is the right time, but from a short term perspective, unless we're breaking up higher below these levels, there is really not a lot to do. You can see Ethereum, this one is cracking below support kind of for the first time. We'll see if they're able to close this off, later on, I guess in a couple of hours here. But, then it's coming the 200-day moving average, and that's going to be the magnet here at about 33.62, and we got a reverse. I mean, look at the 50-day starting to point lower, and we got rejected from that level, which is a sign of supply and a bit of weakness in here. So we got to, but look, you're still looking, in kind of a correcting looking chart after a big impulse. So, I mean, there's plenty of room to still kind of work itself out, but it's gotta give signs of holding and buying, right now that's not happening. So I don't want to be involved. And then XRP, it's a bit all over the place, but it's weak, at least at the moment. I mean, look at this mess. There's not a lot to do here, but just kind of watch it. So, I'm. It's the beginning of the month, right? Kind of the first trading day of November. In here, I think we're gonna have a decent end to the year. Seasonally, that's the idea, but we did have a pretty good, let's say, September and October for that matter. So we'll see what happens here. Fed, it's probably going to cut again in December, although the message was that they wouldn't. But I think the market is pricing in another cut. Anyway, I don't want to get into all those, kind of fundamental details or what have you. I'm watching price, and as long as those key levels in the S&P, the moving averages hold, for me, that's still a sign that we're still fairly healthy. The moment those start to crack, that means I got to pull back exposure. That's going to be my signal. And we just follow along the market. All right. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye.